Morning. How are y'all doing today? Very good, very good.
Well, Coach, how much fun and how much satisfaction did you get out of watching your defense be the dominant defense against a school that, has been known for its defense?
Well, that's the one beauty of being able to be here in the Valley. One thing that we do is we take a lot of pride in doing our job and executing, and at some point, you want to make sure that you can do your job and outplay the teams that you play. So it was very satisfying to see our young men go and execute and play and continue to stay on task with respect to us accomplishing our mission.
Evan Williams is the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Week for good reason. What's the biggest difference you see in his game this year compared to last year?
The learning element of it all, but also a lot of the people around him and how we can filter the ball. When it comes to the learning aspect, we feel his preparation has gone to a new level as well. One thing that he wants to be able to do is try to separate when it comes to his learning, his application, some of the things that he's doing. So we've been very pleased with his performances, but also when you look at the history of our defense, when you have that position that does very well, it's going to get a lot of notoriety because we're giving him a lot of the run items, a lot of the things in the throw games, and he's being able to make the plays he's capable of making.
You hear it said a lot about quarterbacks that the game slows down for them, that maybe they're seeing things before other guys do and the speed of the game is different. Do you see some of that in Evans' games where the decision that he's making or the read is happening at a quicker pace?
Yes, and when you are able to gain and get experience, that's what experience can give you. It allows things to slow down. It allows you to be very patient, but it also allows you to have some understanding of what could be coming right at you. And that's where I will give Evan a lot of praise in his preparation because he is ready to go on game day.
Coach, you're coming off of a rivalry game with San Diego State, and you're facing another one, but the first time going up against Boise State for you, do you have any sort of memory of watching these games, or have the coaches kind of prepped you on what this rivalry is like?
Yes, I could remember hearing about some of these games in years past, and that they're going to be knockdown, drag-out football games, and it's exactly what you want to be in the middle of. And whenever you have the pleasure of being in a rivalry game, it's something that you have to have a lot of respect for because a rivalry is going to be a rivalry no matter where you are. And we take a lot of pride in making sure that we represent the Valley, and coming off of Halloween, we want to make sure that we can be the Goons and Goblins on Saturday.
Coach, two-part question about Tyson Maeva. First, about last Saturday, he missed some time on the field. There was a moment where he was helped off the field for an extended period of time. Do you know what the issue is with Tyson Maeva and how he'll be available for this week?
Tyson, he'll be available. He was just dealing with a mid-leg injury.
Okay.
Yeah,
and so the
right.
second part of that question is he obviously has some valuable experience playing for Boise State. How is that going to help you with preparation for the Broncos this week?
The one thing he's been able to do is kind of give us some tidbits on some of their personnel. But the one thing, again, that we always try to do every week is make sure we point the thumb back on us and look within us and look at the things that we have to be able to do to make sure we're scored away from a preparation standpoint, from an intensity to repetition standpoint, from a practice standpoint, and make sure we continue to just stay on task when it comes to our process of development for our players and in our program.
Boise State ranks at the bottom of the conference in yards per carry. So what do you see from the rushing offense that leads to kind of some of those low numbers? What are they doing this year that they're not doing past years?
Well, probably the one thing that you've seen is they haven't had the continuity up front on the offensive line. They've had to rotate a lot of guys in, play different guys, a lot of different guys, and I would assume that is probably added to some of that nature for them not being able to rush the ball as effectively as they would want. And I know some of the games they have been in, potentially looking to go throw the ball a little more. And when they throw the ball, it will definitely make you nervous because they have a quarterback and some receivers that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.
So as a defensive coordinator, seeing that they are not running the ball as they used to, is that kind of something you focus on, is the pass offense and what the quarterback and the receivers can do?
No, the thing we still have to continue to keep our focus on is being able to make sure you can stop the run and make them play, quote-unquote, left-handed. So that's something you always have to be able to do. And when you can be able to do that, you can take away what teams do well. Now you give yourself chances to be able to experience success on game days.
The last three teams you've faced have had very clear strengths, and I suppose Boise State statistically is doing more with their passing game, but is it more of a balanced attack than you've seen the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, you're going to have your balanced attack with a lot of the RPOs. And what they're doing very well is they're getting the ball in the hands of some of their skill players. And number 2 is someone you have to know where he is at 24/7. When he's on the sidelines, I don't know where he's at.
Going back to the San Diego State game, you guys came out with some 3-tackle packages, and it seemed like it was so effective that they changed their offense pretty significantly and spread the thing out, and we didn't see as much of that. Just what was the transition in terms of changing your game plan to fit what they were doing?
Well, it was the eve of Halloween, and if you guys have seen Evan Bennett, you know he is a scary-looking dude. So being able to get him on the football field is something that we had to do for sure. But knowing that it's like the rules of war, like we talked about. If they have all their big guys in a spot, you got to make sure you get all your big guys in a spot. So we do have some big uglies up front, and we want to take advantage of putting them on the football field.
While the mic's going around, how's your Halloween?
Halloween was great. It was good. I got to spend some time with the kids and go around for a few minutes, a few rounds. I did my best to stay away from some candy until I saw licorice, until I saw sugar babies and sugar daddies. But outside of that, it was a great Sunday. And we also had some of the kids come up here to the office, which is awesome.
Coach, you mentioned watching out for number 2 on Boise State. You're talking about Shakir, of course. They call him their Mr. Do-Everything. What specifically are you going to try to limit from him on Saturday?
Well, the thing you have to be able to do is make sure you can contain him. From a limitation standpoint, there hadn't been a team yet that's been able to limit him from doing anything. So you have to make sure when you're at the point of attack that you can make your play and make your tackle. They've been able to do some things great, getting him in some one-on-one matchups where he's been able to be effective. So it's going to be our challenge to be able to make sure we can minimize some of the exposure that he's been getting.
And their quarterback, Bachmeier, who played as a very young guy. What have you seen from him, his development, his poise back there, and again, what are you going to try and limit from him on Saturday?
Yeah, Bachmeier is a very good leader of their offense. The one thing that he does very well, he can put the ball in specific spots, and literally he reminds us of what we see in practice every day in Jake Hayner. He is tough as nails. It's like he'll take a licking and keep on ticking. He'll get hit, he comes back up, he comes back, gets the ball right to where it needs to be with respect to some of the skill players, and that's why they've been able to experience a lot of success on offense in the throw game, because he can make a lot of the throws that we saw Carson Strong make a couple weeks ago. So we know we're going to have our task ahead of us, being able to stop and contain their run game, or their pass game, excuse me.
We asked Coach DeBoer after the game on Saturday about Elijah Gates not being on the field. Do you anticipate him being back for this game?
Yes. Yep. As of right now, our anticipation is that he will be back with us.
Hey, Coach, you guys have had seven interceptions over the last 3 games. What do you credit that to? Is there a change in defensive mentality, or is it just everybody doing their job?
It's more within the structure of our system. When you have some of those big uglies up front that can get pressure on the quarterback and make the quarterback potentially throw the ball off time, and you're on body with respect to your work, you're going to have a chance to create some takeaways. And something that we've been doing all year long is being able to work our takeaway drills, takeaway circuits. So the one thing that we know and we have really stressed as a football team is the ball is the program. And we believe on defense, when the ball is in the air, it belongs to us. So we have to make sure that we have some ball hawks and chicken hawks on the field on game days.
Coach, the San Diego State offense, that was more like methodical. They worked the clock. And Boise State, not as much like that. Do you guys have a different kind of game plan going into that game?
The beauty of being in the Mountain West Conference is you have to be ready to flip, to hybridize, and to adjust to who you're playing from week to week, because you're not going to get the same offenses. So we're just going to have to flip a gear and get ready to go into high speed and overdrive right now, because they will stress you with some tempo things, some things going very fast, getting the ball out on the edges very, very, very fast, and also running the ball pretty effectively. So it's just a gear that you have to be able to switch, and I do credit the system that we have as an organization here, because we see a lot of those things when we have to play against Coach Grubb and the offense all the time as well.
Do you have any more questions for Coach Inge? Gabe?
A couple second teamers saw a lot of playing time on Saturday. Which of them impressed you the most between Cale Sanders, Amari Pate, or Malachi Langley, to name a few?
Yeah. But, from Malachi Langley's standpoint, this is the best game that he's played thus far. The one thing that you want in a developmental program is to see constant, consistent development. So we've been able to see that from a lot of players, just like you said, having C.J. Sanders come into the football game in the third quarter and really just kind of settle things down from the pass game standpoint. That is exactly what you want to see in a program, and that's what we tell all the recruits. When you come here into the Valley for the Bulldogs, you're going to be developed, you're going to have a chance to play, you're going to have fun, and you're going to be loved. So seeing those guys grow and develop, it was definitely great to see. And they all kind of had their own moments or spurts to help us in different phases of the game.
Any more questions for Coach Inge?
So, Coach, you're not afraid to show your personality out here, but you just said that Evan Bennett is one scary-looking dude, right? Was that the quote?
Yes.
So I didn't take you as a guy who scares earlier. Is there something that you are afraid of that haunts your dreams?
You know what? I am afraid of untalented people. I do not want to be around them.
That's your phobia.
No. Honestly, the only fear I ever had, let's just say growing up, I had a fear of trains. But obviously, I think I've overcome that. But no, not necessarily. There's not too many things. I guess our college coach used to say, in order for you to overcome your fears, one big one is he would send you to a football game, or if you were strong enough, could you be ready to go bear hunting with a switch? And if you were fearful enough to go bear hunting with a switch, you're ready to play football.
Perfect.
I got one last one. Yeah, we ask Coach DeBoer about this all the time, but what are your observations of the red wave kind of coming out and resurging this year? From a defensive coordinator standpoint, that's probably when they're making the most noise, is when your defense is on the field.
We love playing at home. It is absolutely awesome. As we tell the players, you want it to be as loud as possible, because on one end, you're forced to have to utilize a lot of your communication items with some of your nonverbals, but also to see what the red wave has done to some of our opponents with some offsides penalties, some lack of communication on their end. Seeing them, you know why this is the number one place you want to play in our conference. And we love playing in front of them, and it's great to see them coming out in full form, and we can't wait to see them again.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Go Dogs. Huh? Well, I look just like you guys yesterday, so hopefully we can take our costumes off and be normal today.
Andrew. Sit on this side. Sit on this side.
No problem.
Morning.
Morning, Coach.
Where we starting?
Starting back here. So I'm sure you guys were pleasantly surprised with the output from Jordan during the Nevada game. He topped it against San Diego State. So how did he get to that next level?
Preparation. I believe that, and I think the offensive line playing well. Obviously, Jordan would credit them as well. And I think we followed the game plan and followed the script. And I think we have a good formula that, dates back to 2017. And the guys stuck to it and, stayed patient and then popped the big ones when they were there. And Jordan was, he was built for that game. One cut vertical runner, and he absolutely killed the game plan. So it was fun to see.
Since you mentioned the game plan, Coach DeBoer said that you guys didn't know until about Friday night that you wouldn't have Ronnie. Did anything change for you at that 11th hour?
No, because and a big part of that is that, the style of defense you're playing is a pretty specific plan that you have to enact and be able to follow through with. So whether it was Jordan or Ronnie or, a group of guys, it was going to be the same style of play.
So Boise State is a team that you were here, obviously, 2017, 2018. How different is this year's Boise State team than the teams that you faced 4 times in 2 seasons?
Well, I think Coach Avalos definitely has a thumbprint on the defense. So I think there's a lot of similarities from that standpoint of what we saw back in 17 and 18, in 4 different games. So I think that he'll be heavily involved in what those guys look like. So from a schematic standpoint, I think there's a lot of similarities. There's some differences in strengths, just like any season, where sometimes a certain unit can be a little bit stronger than what you saw in previous seasons, and I think that that's the same this year.
This might be more of a question for Coach DeBoer, but is there an update to Jalen Cropper's status on what his injury is and if he is going to be able to play on Saturday?
Yeah, he's looking good. I talked to Jalen late last night, and he was doing good. So came into the training room today, is loosening up, and we're confident he'll play.
Coach, I asked Coach DeBoer this after the game on Saturday. The balance that you guys had in the first half of the game with passing and running, is that the best first half you think offensively you guys have played all season long?
I think it's the most complete half. Yeah, I do. I think that we, took care of the ball for the most part, and the big thing again, going into the game was eliminating negative yardage opportunities for that defense, and I think we did a great job of that. And when you can do that and keep yourself out of XL positions, you give your offense a chance to execute, on all cylinders. And, going into the game, we know that they were, I think, number 1 in the country. I think they were averaging around 8 third and XL opportunities per game, and we finished the football game with 2 XL opportunities that we had to try to convert on. So you do that, your third down conversion rate's going to go up. You stay on the field, good things can happen.
Coach, is there any concern about the amount of hits that Jake Hayner's been taking? And is there anything you can coach the offensive line or the offense to prevent those hits from happening?
Well, we address that every week, and it's always concerning. 1 hit's too many. So we're focusing on that at all points. And I think the O-line is doing a good job. I think they gave up 2 sacks, and 1 was on a slip through on a defensive tackle. And, some of it, too, is 3 of the hits, the most significant hits that Jake took in the football game were late hits. So there's a piece to that, too, when Jake's back there, that he's being taken care of by the game operation as well. And the hardest hit he took, he got a flag on. It was clearly an illegal hit. So I think that there's a piece to that, too, where the O-line we had down, they gave up 2 hits and 2 sacks. And against that defense, I thought that was a pretty good effort.
Now, the official stat sheet, I don't think it probably underestimates the number of hits. Less QB hurries, but somehow I don't think that's completely accurate. Do you guys keep your own record of how many times he's been hit in the game?
Yeah, we do. And we felt like he took 2 sacks and 2 hits.
Jake has been really great, not turning the ball over the last few games. What do you credit to him just not throwing interceptions and turning it over?
Yeah, obviously, I'm not going to pull any punches. The Hawaii game was hopefully a turning point for Jake, and you hope at the very bare minimum it can be a growth moment for a player like Jake. And I don't think he's thrown a pick since that football game. And, for him, I think he recognized the responsibility he has. And, there's 2 words we've been really living on and hanging our hat on in the quarterback room. That's consistency and discipline. And typically that's what it takes, because there's a few throws I'm sure everybody noticed in the San Diego State game that Jake either, was a little bit too careful with or overthrew, and things like that. But it's always easier to bring him back from that direction versus being too risky too often. And I think he's really doing a nice job with that.
And Boise State's defense, they're pretty good at allowing or not allowing passing yards compared to the running. So do you think you'll have to rely more on the run to open up the pass against them?
I think every week you go into a ball game, at least in our offense, with the anticipation of being able to run the football. And I think, after yesterday's meeting with the offense, one of the things I told them was that we're really finally becoming a 2-headed monster. And if we can consistently do that, I think that is going to be dangerous for opposing defenses. And, establishing the line of scrimmage and being able to run the football and get people to commit to the box and then opening up people like Carrick and Jalen and Kells, makes things pretty easy on us.
Coach, I saw at least one breakdown that had the tight ends with 7 targets, 7 catches. Can you share just how valuable they've been in the passing game with a little more of a balanced offense lately?
Yeah, I think anytime you involve the tight ends in the run game and they have to be accounted for in a gap, then all of a sudden you break them out of that gap and they're on the edge of a perimeter, and one of the defenders has to break out and try to cover them, and that can pull a gap open in the run game, or can open them up in the pass game, and that's really what you want out of those guys, and then being able to utilize them, either a crossing pattern, get them across the field or up the seam, So I think that'll continue to develop as our run game develops.
And speaking of the run game, what is the game plan for Ronnie this week and trying to get him back?
Same as before. Full speed ahead, hard as we can. I think for Ronnie, meeting with Martin towards the end of the week, it wasn't that necessarily Ronnie couldn't go. It just would have been in a limited capacity. And then, of course, that was a huge game, and we needed all hands on deck. But I think it speaks to the confidence that we had in Jordan Mims, too, that he was going to be able to be a huge factor in that game, and he was. But for Ronnie, what you don't want is if he can only be limited and he gets out there and, further aggravates the injury and you set him back for the remainder of the season. I don't think that's, a prudent decision for Ronnie. So I had to weigh all those things out, but we feel really strongly that he's going to be able to go this week. I know he felt really good yesterday, and we're getting closer every day.
And schematically, you mentioned some of the differences between this Boise defense and years past, but is it a similar scheme they're running, or is it been changed?
It is. There's a lot of the same home-based principles that you see in coverage structures and how they utilize an odd front and an even front. So there's definitely a lot of Coach Avalos imprints on the defense for sure.
Last time we played Boise, Tyson Maeva was in blue, and now he'll be in red. So how does that help you as the offensive play caller? Do you consult with him? Do you talk to him about what Boise used to do? And is there any similarities between that defense and what you'll see on Saturday?
Yeah, there is similarities, and I have not spoke with Tyson yet, but I'm sure that I will. And, I'll confer about anything that he, felt like gave him problems when we played him and vice versa. So I think in general there's a lot of crossover between Fresno State and Boise, both in players and coaches and things like that. So I have to take all those things into consideration.
Coach, just on the rivalry with Boise State, can you take us back to the 2017 and 18 years and just how unique and strange it was to play them 4 times in 2 seasons?
Yeah, that definitely was interesting. We were just talking about that in the staff room yesterday, because obviously some of the guys on the offensive staff weren't here for that, and to really put that together and even looking at old call sheets and talking about game plan structures and things like that, and thinking about what it felt like to go right back at those guys again, and just how much fun it was, honestly. I mean, that was a great challenge, and especially in 2018, walking off that field, having lost out there on the blue and knowing we're going to have a chance to come back there and win it, was a ton of fun. I mean, just a preparation and a competition standpoint, that's what you want a rivalry to be, is everybody at their best, and I know that's what we'll get this week too.
Well, and you mentioned some of the guys weren't here. Some of the guys were there. Some of the guys were on the blue and orange team for that game. Have you gotten the other side, what their perspective was on those games you guys battled each other in?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can remember talking to Lee on the field all 4 times afterwards. We had known each other prior to Coach Marks being here. So, yeah, I think that there was definitely a mutual respect and just an absolute determination to win the game. So I know that respect runs deep both ways, between both programs, and even back to when, Coach Moore and Coach Marks were wearing the blue and playing, it was the same thing back then. So we feel like this is the premier rivalry in the league and want to keep it that way and show them a nice homecoming here to Bulldog Stadium.
And I know you were asked about Jordan earlier this week, but I know you're so close to him, maybe it doesn't hit you, but it is pretty remarkable that a guy who hadn't touched the ball that much all year is the Mountain West Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. What impresses you the most about what he's doing right now and how he's doing it?
That he's not satisfied. He's not satisfied at all. I mean, I think that's a huge component to why he had a big week was he was still hungry. You know, he felt like he left something out there in the Nevada game even. And, you know, to see that kind of determination and hunger, you know, week of preparation, you know, leading into a game where Jordan knew and the whole offense knew that we're going to have to establish a run to play a good game. And, you know, he was just up for the challenge, you know, and really excited. And I think that the level of competition in that running back room, you know, really is what generates that, where those guys know, you know, Ronnie and Jordan, that they are as good a 1-2 punch as you're going to see. And I like to say 1-1 punch. You know, those guys are like, I mean, they both have different skill sets and things that they are, you know, Jordan's better at some things than Ronnie is, and Ronnie's better at some things than Jordan is. So to be able to have those two type of tools, you know, in your offense is an absolute blessing. And not to mention they're awesome kids. I mean, they're competitors. They're great leaders on the team. And matter of fact, we're talking to a couple younger players. You know, yesterday I was talking to a few offensive guys and just challenging freshmen on the type of contribution that they can make in a program early on. And I don't think people really realize, you know, in 2017, those two guys were our workhorses, you know, as true freshmen, you know, and having to understand all the pass pickups and everything that they our screen game. It was not a, you know, just walk in and hand off power 20 times to a guy. I mean, they're going through, you know, what they'd have to do in an empty formation. And so it's just impressive. And I think it should be motivating to some young guys to understand in this offense that, you know, you can come in and make an impact regardless of, you know, what your age is or where you're at, as long as you know, can execute and produce. And those two guys have done nothing but do that, you know, throughout their career. So, yeah, it's awesome seeing Jordan, you know, just get that opportunity in that stage to showcase his talents.
All right. Thanks, Grubb.
Yep. You bet.
All right, good morning.
So have you had any fun with that oil can trophy yet?
I think the guys all got it passed around, got their pictures taken. So we took one more good look at it in the team meeting yesterday. So celebrated that and got more trophies that are out there. So that's the goal this week.
Yeah, you got the milk can trophy this week, and it's Boise State. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you look at the schedule and you see that name there, Boise State?
Yeah, I mean, all the history between the two programs, whether it's facing each other or the history of success and tradition that we have, and of course that they have as well too. And so, knowing the rivalry, having been a part of it, even though it was within 12 months, playing 4 games was a crazy time. Coach Grubb just spoke of that, and those were some highly contested games, and don't expect this to be anything but that. And fired up that the Red Wave is, from what it sounds like, ready to roll. You know, the ticket sales and all that. Can't wait to have a rowdy Bulldog Stadium. We're going to need them.
Yeah, could you hear the Fresno State chant in Carson the other night?
Yeah, it was really neat. You know, many comments, not just from our side, but from other sides, as far as how impressive it was seeing the fans come down in the numbers that they were. And, you know, our guys definitely see that. And I think it's really cool seeing our guys just naturally you just embrace the Red Wave, you know. I'm doing interviews, and they're grabbing the trophy and going around and greeting the fans that were there, and proud of what we accomplished, but also doing it together, I think is what's special, and that's what's made this place special for so many years, is the pride and you know, it's just really cool. I think that's been a fun part of Bulldog Stadium this year, seeing the fans come out, the student section, the dog pound, you know, come out and really make it an awesome event. But there's just a lot of great give and take between the two, you know, whether it's our players and the fans or the band, you name it. It's been a cool atmosphere.
Coach, you said the national ranking would take care of itself, and with the win, your team back in the top 25. Was there a conversation, or will there be a conversation with your team on that ranking?
No, there hasn't, and really there won't be. I mean, we've been there and we talked about it, and the first time it happened, and just I think the message then was this is what we need to expect, you know, and just talking it through for the first time. The guys, I know they're all aware of it. They know where we're at, but you know we're on to the next now, and it doesn't really mean nothing if we don't take care of business this Saturday.
Coach Grubb kind of said that Cropper should be good to go. How have you seen him progress since the injury Saturday night?
Yeah, we don't. Sundays are our day. Our Sundays there's some working out, but Mondays is our day off. So we haven't done anything this morning, and I know he was getting his treatment and getting making sure and confirming, trying to confirm anything. It doesn't look like it's anything serious, and so he'll be on a full-fledged plan. I know just like Ronnie was last week, it's almost a full-time job being in that training room, and those guys want to be out there, and I feel like there's a pretty good chance Jalen will be playing.
We've been told by the coordinators that Jalen, Ronnie, Elijah, Tyson should all, or at least feeling like they could play. Is that legitimate? Is that a little wishful thinking, or what's the plan for this
Tyson
week?
Maeva,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah, I mean, there's been injuries and things that guys are battling, all season long. You've seen him coming off the field a number of times, picking himself up off the ground, and that's just the way it's going to be probably the rest of the year. But still making an impact. It's been impressive what he's done, and I can promise you he'll be out there if at all possible this week. And I think right now, I think right now we're feeling like they all will be on the football field. That's 4 guys, and so are all 4. Maybe something as the week goes on, just like it did with Ronnie, kind of at the end, is a decision we have to make. But my hope is that we can be up and rolling here sooner than later with those guys in our preparation.
What does it say about the win that you finished it off without just about all those guys?
Yeah, and it's what we talked about as a team. I remember, I believe it was week 1 and week 2 there. Just and the stress at the time was on special teams, that our depth in our program. And I went around the room and just the guys believe that we have a team full of players, that a lot of guys that can step on the football field, and so our special teams efforts should be good. Well, now those guys that are playing those special teams positions are now playing a little more of a role on the offense and defensive side as well, and still getting it done. And it's really cool to see the next guy up mentality truly happen and work. Because it's what you say naturally. It's what we always say as coaches and as a program, but there still usually is some type of reason why a guy's a starter and the next guy's number 2 in the depth chart. But there is a lot of experience on our team, not just with the 1s but with the 2s, and in different ways for different reasons. Guys have had a chance to step on the field this year and have done a nice job when their number's called.
Boise State does not have the record they normally have at this time of year, but they've got a win over a top 10 team, and they've had a lot of close losses. Just what's the sense of, if they bring their A game, how good this team actually is?
Yeah, I think that's the key, is that I've already had it said to me a number of times, they don't have the record they normally have. Well, if you look at their losses, they're very close losses, and they have beat good teams, very good teams. And we already know that you throw the records out the door for this game no matter what. And then second of all, if you do the math, they're still right there in the hunt, I think, on their half of the conference. And so there is so much to play for, even beyond the rivalry that exists between us and Boise State. So we expect everything and anything coming at us on Saturday.
And lastly, for me, the reports are that a potential sellout is within reach, which has been a few years since that's happened here. Just what would that mean to you if the full stadium is packed?
That's the environment itself has been awesome. It's been awesome being in Bulldog Stadium this year, and I know there's just not enough you can say as far as the appreciation I have for the fans and the Red Wave coming out, supporting our guys. But yeah, it's really cool at this point in the year, because usually that's a result of your success and how they really feel about the team. And for the Red Wave to really feel this strongly about our program, week 10 in the season, says a lot about just how much fun our team is to watch, and the belief they have in them, and that they don't want to miss out. And so having a rowdy fan base, Red Wave on Saturday would be awesome. I think one thing is developing this reputation as a program that your stadium is going to be, just tenacious. I mean, just coming after you, as far as just how loud we're going to be and all that. It forces the opponent in that week of preparation to have to play crowd noise when their offense is on the field. And I'm just telling you from experience, every rep that you take with crowd noise isn't as good of a rep in practice as when it's nice and clean and you're not having to worry about that and you're just focused on execution. The silent snap counts, it just takes longer. The communication between players, the communication between coaches and players, it's not as good. Someone in the back is missing out on a coaching point when the crowd noise is super loud a lot of times. And so us having that, kind of developing that here as a Red Wave and as a program again, that, hey, when you come in here, it's going to be loud, and then having to prepare all week long, that's going to have an impact on not just this game, but other teams coming into our stadium. And so I know I'm kind of belaboring it, but it's a piece of winning football games and just building that can really be something that I hope the Red Wave feels like they have an impact in.
Coach, I know you have no control over the conference scheduling, but it's only Monday, and you can already get a sense of how excited this fan base is to play Boise State this weekend. Is this a game, a rivalry that you'd like to see played every year, if you could?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is. We have some great rivalry games, obviously in-state, the proximity, and that's what makes our conference and our schedule every year fun for the fans, makes it difficult for us as a program. I mean, that's the beauty of our just where we're at, and it does bring a lot out to play this game, and so playing it every year is a great thing, right? I mean, we're gonna have an awesome Saturday of entertainment because of who we're playing and when we're playing them, the end of the year. So.
And the last time you played them was in the 2018 Mountain West Championship game. You were, of course, the offensive coordinator for that. There's a healthy debate going on as to whether that game or the Freedom Bowl game might be the biggest win in program history. Where do you stand on that?
I think I guess I don't have a stance. I understand the significance of the Freedom Bowl and of course the conference championship. So man, to me it's just all stacked onto the tradition of what this program is all about, and the ones you remember are the ones that were most recent. I love hearing about the stories of the past conference championship teams, and we had the 2001 reunion a couple weeks ago, and hearing those stories. And so I'm definitely not giving you an answer here on that one because I really don't have the exact answer. I know it was a lot of fun being a part of that 2008 championship team. And those are special moments, and that's what we're trying to build with our football team right now. And so we can have those experiences that we can talk about 20, 30 years from now when we have a reunion of hopefully a championship team here in the 2021 year.
What about in your career, all the success that you had at Sioux Falls? Where would you put that 2018 Mountain West Championship on your resume?
Yeah, it's right at the top. Every championship to me is all right in the same category. They are special. When you get a chance to run out on the field and hoist a trophy, that means you were the best. You were the best with who you were competing against, and it doesn't matter. It is hard to do, and there is so much that goes into it, whether it's the staffing that you hire and have in place, or the ups and downs that you go through, the adversity that comes your way. There is so much that goes into a championship. I can think of many undefeated seasons that look really good on paper that were just full of adversity, from, not start to finish, but oftentimes throughout the year, and just hard things that come your way. And obviously we've had to face that a little bit here this year, and it will continue to happen. whether it's within a game, whether it's within week to week. There's injuries, there's things that happened, and there's tough spots that you're in the course of a game where it can go either way. We've experienced that this year, and that all goes in part into winning those championship games. That happened in 2018, and will happen again, with championship teams in every league and every level. So, man, they're all really big and really important. And looking back on them, it's you have a ring, but that ring is a ring that just more than anything symbolizes what you all went through and the relationships you built, and what no one can ever take away from you.
And then just lastly for me, I know both you and Coach Grubb talked about the fact that you expect Jalen Cropper to be able to play this weekend. What is his injury? Because it looked really bad when he initially went down.
Yeah, it would be more in the knee area, in the knee area. So it's not, lower leg like what Ronnie's would be. It's in the knee area.
Hey, Coach, 2 quick questions. One, kind of not football related, but related to the atmosphere. First one is, what are your thoughts on, the Fresno State Marching Band got selected to go to the Rose Bowl in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about the atmosphere here at Bulldog Stadium. So just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that is an awesome deal. Man, I'm so that fires me up. So proud of what we have here, not just with our football program, but you take the activity, the sport. It takes all of us to build, what is Bulldog, Bulldog athletics, Fresno State. It takes all of us working together, and we're just one piece of that. And what the band, our marching band, brings as far as energy and excitement to, I think, our game day is special. I've been at a lot of places, and our band is as good as it gets. And man, they bring it. They're out there when it was 105 degrees out there week 1. They're practicing in that same heat we're practicing in, and it's really cool to see that they're going to get that opportunity.
And then second, after the Wyoming victory, you guys controlled your own destiny, as far as making it to the championship games. Just how have you liked the team's mindset and their just their mindset, knowing that these last 3 games are very important to where you guys want to get to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, what I've really tried to make sure we do is we had to raise our level, and our backs are to the wall, ever since that loss that we had. The room for error is little, but the pressure can't get to you because you can't play tight. And I felt like we've been a loose team before, and that's when we're at our best. But we had to tighten up more about the process, I think, just, and that back to the wall thing that I was talking about is, I think, seen more in what we do in our preparation. And I can't say it's more time. I think it's an urgency, and just realize that not every minute, every second matters when we're on that football field. And as you go through the course of the year, you try to limit and take maybe a period or 2 off of practice, which puts even more focus into the time you're out there and the time you're working. And so our guys have done that. I mean, it's been awesome. The practices, the last 2 weeks in particular, have been nothing but like an attack mode for them. Like we're attacking the practice, but it's this this loose vibe that they have. But when they need to get in between the lines and play ball, they're playing ball. And I guess that's what I'm most proud of, is that there's this trust between them. There's this trust between coaches and players that, hey, I want to see you smiling, which is kind of this indication of, being loose. But when we got to crank it up and flip the switch, we're able to flip the switch as soon as we step on that football field. So I'm really proud of the mindset. We are not just doing things well, I think, on the football field. We are doing things well off, and that all goes hand in hand, socially and just academically. The guys are just doing a good job, and limiting distractions has led to be able to focus on the things that we want to do, and that's being a better football team. And so couldn't be more proud of where we're at right now, the direction we continue to go.
Coach, just building off that last question, how proud of you are with the fact of this team that after that Hawaii setback did not spiral in a downward trend, but instead was able to turn it into 3 straight victories here?
Yeah, and what's the question, though? Like,
how proud are you with the fact that he responded.
Right.
From
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, I felt like it would be that way because I saw a team that was more uniting after that game at Hawaii. There was literally zero finger pointing in my mind, and it was more of, Coach Grubb talks about tell the truth Sunday. It was being able to be critical and guys not get defensive, whether it's coaches, whether it's players, whether myself. We can stand in a room together because we believe in each other and we know we have to do it together, and that every guy is important. I just really feel like that, there was no finger pointing, and it was just hey, we believe we're good enough, but we got to show it. And at that point, we weren't showing it.
Coach, when you see the hits that Jake Haener takes, is there one hit that maybe last Saturday makes you go, uh-oh? And then what do you do to try to protect him more? Yeah,
I mean, I think the last 3 weeks we've done the best job we've done all year of protecting him. I think the Wyoming game, the run game was a huge part of taking hits. I think that week going into Nevada was the best he's felt maybe since the beginning of the season. And so, it's the nature of the game. You're going to get hit, and Coach Grubb talked about even the late hits, and there was one hit where I do remember him getting up really slow. We ran a play action, and we lost a guy late up front, and it was right square coming at him, and that's one where he was stepping up and throwing, and took the brunt of it. I thought the other hit that was, where he took a hard fall, was the one that the penalty was called on, and so there was one other that I know was reviewed for targeting. And so that was probably really the three that I saw in the course of the game. I mean, I think we've done, and we're constantly pointing it out, every hit, because like Coach said, one hit is too many, just because, that's the mindset we want to have. But I do feel like we've done a better job, and you see that in our sack totals coming back down. And, I think Jake's been feeling better in practice, and I think you see his production continuing to go back up because he's out there all week long, having full weeks of practice where, there was a couple weeks in a row where that was definitely not the case, and we're continuing to get better because he's out there and feeling more comfortable in the pocket.
And what's your brief scouting report for Boise State?
Well, I mean, there's probably balance as a football team as we've seen, where you have an offense that's going to put points on the board, an offense that, even though I think in my mind watching them, they probably would prefer or they favor the pass a little bit more. They have a very strong run game, and we know the nature of and style of football that they've played over the years, even though it's a few different coaches especially on the offensive side. I do feel like there's a good balance that they still have. And again, balance is the ability to do it, not what the stat sheet shows. And so I think they have the ability to do both very well. And, Coach Avalos being a defensive guy, they're continuing to be strong quicker, I think, on that side of the ball, and the offense is catching up. And so you got probably the most balanced team within their scheme offensively and defensively, but also as a team that I think we've seen, not just where, you got a program that maybe has a really strong defense and not as good an offense, or just one thing they do, offensively and run or pass. We've seen a little bit of that over the last 3 weeks. This is a full team that we're playing.
Last one for me. Are you expecting Rivers to return? And if so, who starts between Rivers and Mims, or who gets the most touches?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, with who gets the most touches, I think that's just how the game plays out. And, I really feel like Ronnie is right at that point of being able to be back out there, hopefully full go tomorrow and with practice. And, having the balance between the two, having more carries here the last few games, the last 3 games in particular. In the Wyoming game, both of them got a lot of touches. And so, hopefully that's what we can do is get both of them their chances and their opportunities. And come off the sideline, get a breather, and the next guy's back out there. That's really I don't think either one of them would care if one guy had one more touch or 3 more touches. I don't even know if they really care, because it's not about starting anymore. It's about who's out there when it matters most. And I think both of them care so much about each other. I don't think it's even about who starts. And so I know that means something to people, and I don't want to not say it doesn't, but to me, we have 2 starters out there on the football field when we have them. So.
And Coach, banking off kind of that last question, Jordan Mims, he's had 320 yards in the last 2 games. He's almost caught Ronnie for yards for the entire season. Just having the dynamic duo like that, what does it say for your team?
Yeah, it's what you want throughout the program, not just there. I think developing the depth, which we talked about earlier, at all positions. We have that at receiver. We're continuing to try to develop that at all positions. And so, I think it also is a tribute to our offensive line continuing to get better. And as they become better, our team has more confidence. Coach Grubb is a play caller, probably has more, it's easier as a play caller. Been there many times when you're running the football. Now, we can get back to the play action and the shots down the field, because you get eyes in the backfield and people running downhill to tackle Riv and Mims. And so it just is going to make us more complete, tougher to defend. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the progress our offensive line has been making here, especially in the last 3 to 4 weeks.
And last question for me, Coach Grubb kind of talked on it. It seems like Jake kind of turned and just left the Hawaii game behind him and said, I'm not going to turn it over anymore. He hasn't had any turnovers since that game. What do you think his mindset was after that?
Yeah, I think he took a long, hard look at, our success, and our success happens. What I don't want Jake thinking is he's just a game manager. I've had quarterbacks that, man, they just get so nervous about making a mistake that they just manage the game, and that's about it. And, Jake's not that guy. Jake's a guy that's a playmaker with his arm especially. And so that's his mindset, and I do not want to take that away from him. But I think he really did a nice job, and Coach Grubb and I have talked with him a lot just about, hey, man, stay attack mode, but just you gotta be conscious about things, And his preparation has always been extremely high, and if anything, it's been so high that, you start looking at too much stuff and start overthinking. And I don't think that was the case. I just think that, one was a tip ball, right? One was a tip ball. One was in a side pocket where he'd made that throw a lot of times. You can relive those interceptions, but one was a little bit of a communication between he and a receiver. So you look at those and you just try to really fix those things. And he always does that. And, sometimes you're going to have a day that doesn't go quite right. We just got to make sure it's not one that hurts us, to that extent. So I am super proud of what Jake has done these last 3 weeks because he has not backed away from being a team leader, and he can do that because he's such a hard worker, not just in the film room, but on the football field. And he knows that the guys respect him for who he is, not just who he is as a football player. And so, he's still been that team captain that we need. He's still that fiery guy. You can see by the interviews he does, man, he don't hold back, and that's what we got to have. That's what makes us who we are. He's a huge part of that, but I am super proud of what he's done the last 3 weeks in response to that game.
Good afternoon, Coach. One last question about Jake. Obviously, you talk about his toughness, his leadership, and he showed that on the field. I mean, I think it was mentioned the big hits he took. I think there's one where he kind of limped off the field and grabbed a water bottle and slammed it on the floor and kind of gritted through that win. How far away is he from 100% after that win? The hits he took, did that kind of set back any hip injury he had lingering?
No, I don't think so. I actually think I don't think it's any different than any other physical football game he's played. I feel like we're past most of those injuries. I think there's going to be a thing or two that's going to, have to be addressed all year long, but I don't think it's really anything that is hampering him from playing at 100%. I think after the UCLA game for a week or two, there were some things he had to work through physically, and he's had to continue to do that, and that's just football. That's football week 10, and I think he's in a really good spot right now.
You mentioned Jake's interviews and not holding back, and I'm sure sometimes you don't know what's going to come out of his mouth. And I know you talk about want to know every week in the business of college football, but it's entertainment too, and a lot of your players live in this social media world. And his first words after that win the other night were about College game day that morning, and Dez picked against him and Kirk picked against him, but not Ken Jong, who is now interacting with Fresno State on Twitter. Any invite to be an honorary captain, wear a Bulldog sweatshirt on the field?
Oh, sure. That would be awesome. I already saw the invitation was out there by our players, and so would be all for that. So that's been fun. That you got to smile and you got to have some fun with the things. And even when Jake says that in his interview, you can see he's having fun with it, and it's not something that you take personally, or it's all part of it. And that's what I love about our guys. They do know how to flip the switch and play ball when they got to play ball at a high level, but they have some fun doing it. And we make sure we talk about social media about weekly. Just what you put out there, you can never take back. But I'm proud of the way our guys represent themselves, myself, this football program, and our university.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you guys.
Yep.